Hello, friends of Herbie, and welcome back to a new episode of the Campfire Talks with Herbie. We will follow the usual format with a guest that I will interview, and then we'll have a moment where I will answer a few questions, and then, of course, we will interact with you there in the audience. You can always post your questions in the YouTube comments section, and hopefully I will pick them up. So with, as we say, no further ado, here we have Abrar Hashmi. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, Steve.
So welcome, Abrar.
Pleasure.
Welcome to the Campfire Talks. And of course, we are curious to know who are you?
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much, Steve, for having me part of this Campfire Talks. My name is Abrar Hashmi, and I have been born and raised in Abu Dhabi, UAE, and started my journey in the software development domain after graduating from Drexel University. And today, I'm the founder and chief evangelist at Agile Brains Consulting. We've helped out numerous large-scale organizations in scaling their digital transformation efforts, introducing scale frameworks, as well as helping them out to introduce lean and DevOps practices, really help them out to create more value-centric organizations for their customers and clients. So that's what Abrar has.
Wow. And how did you get involved with agile organizational performance? And of course, I'm curious now, how did you come across TameFlow?
It's a fantastic question, Steve. So I come from a software development background, and part of my early part of my career was spent in writing code, writing from code in Java, PHP, .NET, using SQL statements. So a lot of the work was done as an individual contributor, as a knowledge worker. Interestingly, I didn't even know about that term existed. And slowly and gradually, from moving into positions of management within the technical domain, and then moving into more process management, serving as Scrum Masters roles, and as well as moving into more of an agile coaching role, and then moving on towards process improvement across organizations. That's how the journey standed up. And more importantly, one of my passions has been working with organizations and figuring out what can be done to improve their flow. So part of that framework, what also resulted in was within Agile Brains, we created a proprietary framework called ABC, just based on our acronym Agile Brains. And the ABC framework was assess, brainstorm, and change. Now, what that related to for us from a process perspective was that there are frameworks which exist for scaling across the industry, across the world. But what's interesting is organizations today have their own nuances, have their own challenges, have their own biases. So taking a framework and implementing it just by the book did not have the highest value, did not get the most desired results. And what it became more and more being in the industry was people would look at a framework, start implementing everything in the framework, and it became a goal to implement everything which a framework would suggest by the book. And that's the place where one of my passion remains, to read more about scaling frameworks, how to improve flow, and going to helping our organizations to really scale by descaling, by not just looking at here's what the book says, here's the 16 steps for you to go from 0 to 100, and your job is to make sure that we go through 16 steps. I think every organization is unique, and every organization has its own challenges. And we as thought leaders, as agile consultants, as process consultants, our goal is to look at from a customer's perspective on how a framework can be tailored towards improving their flow. And that's one of the things which I absolutely love and admire about TameFlow as a framework as well.
Wow, I really like that name, ABC. It seems you make things so easy. It's like ABC, right?
Absolutely. It's funny because our tagline for our customers also is, we help you, we make your digital transformation as simple as ABC. Because at the end of the day, if you look at even TameFlow, the focus is on the human-centered design. It's on the people aspect. At the end of the day, an organization is a combination of people, a group of people, a squad of people, a village of people. And our focus has to be how we can utilize the people skill set, the talent skill sets to improve flow. So that's something to believe in.
Absolutely. So you're
Like
obviously
we make people as ABC.
you're obviously making a living in this agile space. But do you see like TameFlow having a role there, or how do you see the evolution for your business?
I think there is more and more needs for organizations to be more open-minded when it comes to scaling frameworks. Now, if you look at the different options available for organizations, the majority of the space is really focused on maybe 2 or 3 large-scale frameworks, which are mostly popular and highly adapted. But what we have seen in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years now, is more and more frameworks which are not focused on scaling, but focused on descaling and really focused on the human-centered design, the design thinking aspect of delivery, which is going to be critical. So as I mentioned earlier, so again, this is what our organization does when it comes to helping out large organizations, small startups engage and build up their platforms and processes. So this is something where I see TameFlow having a big role to play, specifically as an option for organizations. So when organizations are looking at potential frameworks and potential scaling methodologies, it's not only the 1 or 2 popular ones, but more and more options exist.
Yes, right. So now we always like to discover, the person who is there on the other side of the screen. Tell us something about yourself. How is a typical day?
So I think from a typical day perspective, I usually start my day around between 6:30 and 7:30, depending on what kind of a night I had. And one thing which I'm really intrigued and very interested in is I have my own personal Kanban board, a very simple Kanban board, not 16, 17 columns of waiting for testing, waiting for deployment, nothing like that. It's very simple. It's just new, in progress, and done, something which is not started. And usually I like to work on it the first thing in the morning. This process can take somewhere from 15 to 25 minutes, just get a good idea of what my day is going to be spent in. And depending on the schedule, once I'm done with that, the next step, which I really focus on, is trying to work out at something I'm very passionate about, being fit, and just gives me a chance to clear my head. Now, based on this pandemic, I'm based in Philadelphia, and so usually my day will have starting with a good run on where the Rocky steps are, and we'll run from anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to up to 2 hours. And it's again very peaceful at that time. People are not outside. It's good. And I come back, and then again I'll have for breakfast and try to again start my day. One of the key things which we do at ABC is we have our daily stand-up at 11. That is based on the sales and marketing and finance teams. We'll discuss about how things are going, any pressing needs we might have. I also support a couple of clients on an enterprise agile coaching process and helping them out to improve their delivery frameworks. So some of the meetings will happen, and it's interesting. I just have been in meetings pretty much since noon today as well, Eastern. And around 4:35, I'd like to end the day, and I'll go for a swim in the pool for depending on like 30 minutes to up to an hour. Now, again, gives me a good chance to, that's the only time, believe it or not, where I don't have headphones in my ears and I'm not in front of the screen. So that's something which is really not only beneficial, but I think it also gives me a chance to de-stress because majority of the times, even if I'm being on planes or trains or cars, you always are tuned towards technology.
So I bet you are not.
It's
I bet you're not looking forward to underwater headsets, right?
No, absolutely not. That's the only time. I'm glad I don't have one. And I'm glad it's the case that gives me a chance to be away from, get my eyes some rest as well. So there, you wouldn't see me with ear pods, but you will see me with swimming goggles. So that's what you will see here.
So after such an intensive day, how do you make it a happy day? What makes you happy at the end of the day?
So I think I was reading, it's one of the quotes from Steve Jobs where he talks about, if you're really passionate about what you're doing, it doesn't seem like work. And I think that's something when I created and launched out Agile Brains, one of our biggest things was that we really believed as an organization that our goal is to empower people to lead better lives. And that is something which I related to as a developer, where you would be constantly getting 25 emails per hour on what's the status update, right? How much time is it done? How much time is left? So going away from that, like creating that environment is so important And I think organizations today are understanding it more so than ever, that it's at the end of the day, it's about creating a culture of inclusion, a culture of innovation, where people can come in and come up with creative ideas. Doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter what they believe in, doesn't matter what educational background they have. But what it really is providing an environment for them to be the best version of themselves. And to me, ABC serves as that platform, right? Whether we are doing our training sessions, whether we are doing our consulting engagements, it's all about how we are helping people around. And I'm very passionate about this stuff. I use this in my personal life. When we were planning our house improvement program, we created another Kanban board. I was a poor developer in that case. My fiance was the product owner there. So, not really doing anything from a day-to-day perspective, but really creating that environment for people is something which I'm passionate about. And at the end of the day, if I'm able to help out my team or clients or people who reach out to me on LinkedIn or through any other platform with a mentorship opportunity or some questions on resume writing or questions on how do I get engaged in this field, that's something which actually makes me really happy at the end of the day. It's about giving back. I feel like, we as human beings are on this planet Earth to give back. And we're so focused on our own selves that you really start seeing satisfaction when you start giving back.
Absolutely. And since you've been in the industry for such a long time, what are some special skills or insights that you have developed in this career?
I think it goes back to what we were talking a few minutes ago about like being there for people. I think whether it is our clients, whether it's our students or employees or even friends and family, I think one of the best things by being in the agile and scaling agile and process improvement domain has been how important listening is. And I had a mentor who had guided me on this idea of how you would want to answer the question. You would want to be the first person who raises their hand and says, I know the answer. But embracing silence and realizing that giving people chance to speak is one of the most thankless skills which we don't even demonstrate. So the more we let people speak, the more we listen to others. And I'm not just talking about listening, but practicing active listening, getting a chance to not only see what they are talking about, but also taking an idea of what they are trying to say and from which background they're coming from. I think that just gives you so much more perspective. A lot of the work which we have done has been also in training incoming employees of a large, let's say, insurance or provider. And one of the things we do is we train these college graduates who are somewhere from the age of, I would say, 20 to 23. That's the majority of them. And you have them in a class, you're trying to teach them about processes and how cultures is set up for that organization. They don't have 20 years of work experience. They've not been in the industry for 30 years. They don't know what traditional way of delivery was. So for them, everything is new. And it's so interesting that those 3 days to 5 days, which we spend with incoming freshmen, incoming graduates for this large insurance provider, how important it is for us as leaders and even peers to just listen to them, because they're coming up with not only a different perspective, but different education, different time eras which they are working in. And more importantly, I think this goes back to the happiness discussion we had a few minutes ago. The more we are listening to them, we're really creating the next generation of leaders. So they're the ones who will come up with the next TameFlow process 3.0. They're going to be the ones who are going to create the DEF framework from after ABC. So it's really important for us to listen to them and not get hung up on the number of years of experience or the companies you have worked with, the clients you have worked with. I think we as people have a great chance to learn from everyone. I think that's something which I have strongly believed in. Regardless of your role, you might be an assistant, you might be a CEO, you might be a CTO, or you might be somebody whose job is to just deliver food to your houses. But there is something to learn from every single human being on this planet Earth.
That's wonderful. Now, this industry, as you said, is continuously changing and evolving. So what are some of the challenges that you have found on your way to develop like these improvement techniques? And what challenges do you see coming? And where is TameFlow in that?
So fantastic. I think there are 2 or 3 areas which I think we can talk about. I think number one, which is if we talked about the ABC framework, and one of the things which ABC focused on is doing that assessment. So we start all our engagements with our customers with short assessment, and depending on the duration and size of the organization, that can range from somewhere from as short as a week to as up longer as up to 6 to 8 weeks. And one of the things which you learn from that challenging piece is that every organization is going to be unique. And more, what we see across the industry is we look at frameworks as the silver bullet. We get our people certified, we get them trained, we let them go through training, and we feel this is it. This is how we're going to handle this out. We saw it with, for example, the Spotify model a lot in the industry. Initially, scaling was listed out. Are you following the Spotify model? No, let's follow it. But what's interesting is the more you read, the more you learn about any framework, what you'll see is each organization is going to require their own aspect of delivery, their own way of product life cycles, their own business process optimization techniques. So the goal here is that this is a constantly evolving industry. Last couple of years, we've done a lot of works as in terms of clients in the credit union space. Again, traditional financial institution, but again, mid-sized to small-sized credit unions. And what we found out from them was that their needs were different. And lo and behold, come March 2020, in this pandemic, our operating models have changed. Our customer mindsets have changed. Our journeys have changed. So the more we come across in terms of what challenges we face, it's about improving on where we are today. And what's interesting is that nothing remains constant. One of the key things, key numerical facts which I state is super interesting is that if you look at from the early 1960s to the first decade of 2000s, the number of companies which remained in the Fortune 500 were less than 65. So a very short number. You only had 12% of the Fortune 500 companies be present in a short decade of, let's say, 5 decades, in a short duration. So not a long period of time. Again, we're talking about Fortune 500 companies which had clients, which had revenue, which had customers. But yet, there is the constant change. And that's something which we're seeing in every single framework we even work with. They are all coming up with their own versions. 1.0 becomes 2.0, 2.0 becomes 3.0. And that's the need of the hour. That the greatest challenge remains that whatever is working in January of 2020 will not work in July of 2020, or will definitely not work in June of 2021. So our customers are constantly evolving. Our challenges are constantly evolving. And this is something which you constantly have to work on. And one other key thing, I'll mention that out, which was something really cool, which we launched out in April of this year. We started doing what we are calling as micro consulting engagements. And where micro consulting came in was there is the fear and panic amidst this pandemic. Organizations are scared of bringing 30, 40, 50 consultants to look at process and make improvements. Everything has slowed down. And one of the things we started thinking about and brainstorming on our side was how can we solve some wicked problems, some challenging problems for our customers in a faster duration. And what we came across that if you look at a consulting engagement or a coaching engagement, we decided to launch out micro consulting. And micro consulting was, you have one problem, you're trying to fix out one challenge. How a team of leaders and thought leaders and experts can help you out to just evaluate that. So again, we'll start with an assessment. It can range up from anywhere from 2 to 6 to 8 weeks, relatively shorter duration commitment. You'll see faster results and you will get benefits out of it. And that can be based on the prioritization you're doing. It could be based on the human-centered design, which TameFlow has a lot of input on. It could be also focused on design thinking. So areas which we can see organizations to get a lot of value out, but in a very quick manner. Because believe it or not, at this stage, customers are looking for faster wins, faster results, faster feedback, And I think micro consulting is a great opportunity for them to gain a lot of value in it.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept of micro consulting, and I think the timing for that is really good. I mean, people, as you said, are scared, and they don't want to take huge steps. So small steps with hand holding is a very good approach. Now, in all this work that you're doing, what rewards have you collected, and what further future rewards would you like to get?
So, fantastic question. I think rewards are very important. I think in life, I think that could be financial rewards, and that could be professional rewards, personal awards, and recognition. Just we were talking about, like, again, being innovative and coming up with ways to give back. So one of the key things which we also launched, I think late April, early May, was we created a 4-hour half day to a day boot camp, helping our organizations to build high-performing squads, virtual squads. And the goal there, again, was, Steve, you come from a technical background, so being on Zoom, being on StreamYard, working virtually, that is natural to us. It's nothing new for us. We've been doing it for over a decade. We've taken calls while we are in a plane. I've taken calls when I'm in a boat. It's normal. But there is a huge population who has never worked virtually. We have clients in the private equity domain. We have clients in the hedge fund domain, people who are used to meeting clients in person. So working virtually is a huge challenge for them. And one of the key things which we did was launch out this boot camp, a 4-hour session for our customers to train them on how to build effective teams who are working virtually. So we called it high performing virtual squads. And the goal was, how can we build them out to embrace this remote setting, embrace this way of working, and not feeling being left out. Because at this stage, we are craving human connect. We are craving the chance to see each other's faces and meeting each other out and building it out with respect to people. So that's something which was, again, I think being able to be in that session, working with leaders, working with people with 20, 30 years of experience, and showing them some techniques at how you can effectively host a virtual water cooler or set up a virtual Q&A session with leadership in a private equity firm was super, super beneficial. And the feedback which we got from our clients was amazing. We also did a couple of these virtual sessions completely for free for nonprofit organizations. So the goal, again, there was, as I'm a strong believer in good karma and good beliefs in destiny, I think the better we are with respect to our fellow human beings, the circle of life comes back and gives it back to us, whether it is in terms of rewards, whether it's in terms of awards or success. This year, during this pandemic, I was also given the award for the Intercon's Top 50 Tech Visionary Award of the Year as well. And the awards will be held in December in Las Vegas. And I'm planning to, hopefully, once the pandemic settles down, that would be a good trip to go in. So industry recognition is always popular. And again, Agile Brains continues to do a great job in helping it out. But
for those who don't know, what is this Intercon?
Intercon, again, is a nominating body which looks at technical leaders and in terms of the avenue which you have done a lot of work out with, as well as the approach you have taken to solve some challenging problems and giving back. So they look at the leaders in the technical domain who are giving back, as well as coming up with innovative solutions to the organizations as well.
Okay. So just moments ago, you were talking about the need of human connection. And as you know, we have a small but thriving community, the TameFlow community. What would you expect from such a community of peers?
I think it's, we talked about listening earlier. I think learning in general is an attribute which we don't give off on, right? Learning is something which never stops. My father's retired now, and even when I talk to him, he's constantly reading, he's constantly solving puzzles, because at the end of the day, this is what motivates us. This is what excites us. So learning from other leaders, we talked about how there are times when I have learned from a college intern. There are times where we have gotten a marketing person in our team and they've showed me how to do something cool on YouTube or on LinkedIn. So at the end of the day, if you look at the TameFlow community, it's very important to keep an open mind with respect to that we're not done. Our work is going to continue, and our journey of learning is not really ever complete.
Right. And I just remind the audience that the community is available right down there in the banner. You see the URL https://community.tameflow.com, and you're all welcome to join there and interact with the other folks there. Now, Abrar, I mean, I've been asking many questions as usual, but I think you might want to ask me something about TameFlow.
I think, Steve, thank you so much for that. And I want to first and foremost thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to come and talk a little bit about my journey and just the scaling challenges which organizations have faced and what innovative ways are we coming up with the organizations to help them out. One of the key things which we are seeing in terms of within the industry is there are, as you are aware of, there are numerous scaling frameworks and approaches available within the industry. So if you were to list out maybe 3 to 5 key benefits which an organization can gain benefit from using TameFlow, and specifically focusing on what the customer impact will be, and then possibly tie it down to how this will help out organizations, specifically during this pandemic, which is not slowing down, unfortunately. So how can organizations use TameFlow to come through it with respect to their customer delivery timelines and product timelines to be better at it?
Okay, thank you. That's a lovely question.
Sure.
And as I typically do here, I mean, the audience loves this moment because I will have to show my dexterity in juggling a tablet and a Miro board at the same time. So
Nice.
I'm going to add here to the stream the shared screen. Should come up there. Let me see if I am in the right place. And this is what I was saying. I always have problems with Miro from the tablet, which loses the connection always exactly when I need to use it. So this is one of those things that it's almost a trademark of this broadcast that at this moment, I always need to resync. So let's see if I got it right now. Oh, it seems it's working. Wonderful. So please feel free to to ask me questions as I'm going along. So you asked about like the three benefits, and I like to always start from the beginning of where we start with TameFlow. And in TameFlow, we like to start from let's say the top of the organization, the CEO, basically, but more generically, the idea, the major benefits come from the 3 founding patterns of TameFlow. And the first one is the pattern of inspired leadership. Now, notice well that I don't say leader and I don't say inspiring. So this is not about the CEO being an inspiration for the other folks. This is about leadership, and leadership can be exercised at any level in the organization. Anyone can exercise leadership in whatever role or area of expertise they have. And in fact, that is like the essence of knowledge work, that since you cannot know everything, you rely on the contribution of others. And of course, they have to be the leaders in their respective areas of expertise. So it's about leadership, and it has to be like inspired. What do I mean with that? Well, we are all like individuals, and we all have some purpose in life. So something that drives us in a certain direction. Now, typically in companies, you will have many people, and all and each and any one of them will have like their own personal purpose in life. But this is very important to gain like the motivation to act. But we must also keep in mind that behind this is what I define as the goal of the company, not the purpose of the people. So in this sense, the company is, we could almost say it's the legal entity that is registered in your company register office or whatever it is called. That structure has a goal. Now, while each one of us can have a different purpose, if we work in a company, we can certainly agree that that company will have a goal. So it's something that we can share. But now, how do we make this shareable? So we already said, one of the benefits of TameFlow is that you recognize leadership at any level. And we appreciate leadership that is taking like the initiative. But going back to the CEO, what can a CEO do here? Because what we want to achieve is the one of the other three patterns. It's the unity of purpose. Yes, we use the name purpose here, but more aptly, we are referring to the goal. But as you work on this, as you get people to align on the goal, you are indirectly aligning them on the same purpose, because at a certain point, they will start behaving and making decisions which are indistinguishable one from the other. So you could very much say they are sharing the same purpose. So we need to get to that unity of purpose, because that gives us a huge thrust. One of the key elements that the company must adopt, and which comes from a decision of top management, is transitioning from cost accounting to throughput accounting, because that will allow us to build that unity of purpose. The cost accounting world is perverse. In my view, it is the root cause of all this command and control that we have nowadays. It's not Taylorism. That is barking up the wrong tree. Taylorism has had a very positive impact on the evolution of the well-being of people during its time, but that time is over. And the Agile world correctly laments that there is a lot of command and control, and I think wrongly attributes that to the survival of Taylorism. No, that is not the case. Why? Because we have cost accounting, and cost accounting by definition creates budgets. So it creates like factions, tribes inside the company that all fight one another. Why? Because they want the next slice of budget for themselves. So there is a lot of energy which is wasted and dispersed in infights because of the cost accounting mindset. And how does this relate to command and control? Well, if you are the CEO and you're having your business units making conflicting decisions. Why? Because they are competing and they are measured by different KPIs. At a certain point, you do not know whom to believe, because you get different information from different people. And therefore, you go with your gut feeling and will say, you do this. So that's the origin of command of control. It's deeply rooted in the usage of cost accounting, not in Taylorism. That is gone since ages. So this is an insight. Yes?
I said, no, absolutely correct. Excellent.
So this is an insight that I think the inspired leader, so not leadership, so the guy at the top, guy or girl at the top, needs to develop, to understand that cost accounting is creating so many problems, not only for the organization, but for that person himself. Now, unity of purpose will therefore eliminate the need for command and control. We'll get all people to work together because we are eliminating the budgeting. And this creates the space for the third founding pattern, which is the community of trust. Of course, if we're not fighting in between us, but we share a common goal, and therefore, presumably, we are getting closer to having the same purpose, well, I can trust you more than before. I can trust that the decision that you take is not going to harm me, which is the typical situation in the cost accounting world. So I can be more relaxed in having the confidence that whatever you do will benefit me rather than being harmful to me. And therefore, the level of trust will increase. So you wanted 3 benefits. Well, I think these are, in summary, those benefits, the 3 founding patterns of TameFlow. We have leadership in any level of the organization. It's inspired because it's driven by a purpose and it's aimed at a goal. We are creating unity of purpose so people stop fighting one another and they can focus on creating value in the market. And that creates a community of trust where there is more harmony inside the organization. And with that harmony, you will find that the organization is not only serving the customer, which is clearly very important, but it's also serving its employees. It's also serving its stakeholders. It's also serving its suppliers. And presumably, it will also be a better corporate citizen in society and in the global concern about sustainability and saving this little green-blue dot, which is planet Earth, that we all have to share. So that, I think, summarizes how I would describe what are the 3 main benefits of TameFlow. Some will say that it is maybe borderline of being philosophical and a pie in the sky, but I can tell you that when these things happen on the ground with people, with real people, well, it is very, very concrete and tangible. So there you go. We're back to our conversation. Any comments on that?
Fantastic, Steve. And I think this is one of the things which I like about the role of leadership cannot be overstated. And you talked about the inspired leadership as well as providing people the ability to go behind the goal, be in that purpose-driven world, in that purpose-driven goal of your organization is going to be critical. So yes, on paper, it does sound philosophical, but having been of large product launches, having been part of an Emmy award-winning recommendation platform, which we built for Fortune 25 organization, the most success we have seen is when the leadership and knowledge workers and the talent have actually been aligned and they've been inspired to do great things. So this is phenomenal.
Okay, let's see if we have some activity on the comment streams. We have just a few hellos here. Hello from Anna Sikorska in Montreal. We have Mikkel Kusters from Germany. And of course, we always have Daniel Dwarong. And Daniel is commented, I have given many Kanban classes in Philadelphia over the years. Lovely, the city. Okay, good to know. I will have to visit Philadelphia sometime. Daniel, have you ever considered fixed bids mandates with your micro consulting approach? Oh, interesting.
Absolutely. And Daniel, that's exactly what we want to list it out with our clients as well, though it is duration based. But at the end of the day, our approach is whatever you are trying to mandate, that's done with a fixed price cost. And because of the whole pandemic situation, travel has been pretty much minimal. So what we have done is it gives customers a chance to even get away from the travel and expenses cost, the lodging cost. So it becomes more focused on what are you expecting to get out of the time duration and how quickly can we deliver it. So they are a fixed price based on where we are. And of course, clients have the ability to extend it depending on if they want to work with the different groups. For example, right now we're working with a mid-sized organization, probably 100 plus people, but not really huge. But what they are helping us do, or we're helping them do, is do a product management assessment. So their product management team is responsible for coming up with the ideas, helping them out with the technology side. But one of the key things they're looking for is, can we have an external team to just evaluate based on where we are today, how can we go to market faster? So classic example of where micro consulting comes in, that micro consulting engagement is exactly 1 week long. And all it will entail is us working with the product team, identifying where the gaps are, what the challenges are, and providing them a roadmap of what can be done post the micro consulting engagement.
So what exactly are you doing in a micro consulting engagement?
So
how would it look like?
Yeah, so micro consulting is heavily focused on, we have our own framework, which is called the Sniper framework, which lists out Sniper, yes. I can share the link out as well. And what we start doing is we start by basically understanding where the organization is headed towards, what their current challenges are. For in this particular product organization, they have had a product for over I think over 20 years now. That's the duration of the product. And of course, the product has gone through different life cycles on its 1, 2, 3. They're the third generation of the product today. And their biggest challenge remains on how to manage all the upcoming work which they are seeing today and how they can move forward against it. So I'm also sharing this out with our viewers as well, and on the people on the call, so they can actually see what does that framework look like. So it is focused on the 6 steps which we have on the micro consulting framework, and we use a Sniper approach. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I can chat in here. Can I chat, Steve, or do I can only chat in the private one?
Let's see.
Yeah, maybe I'm not able to comment.
I got it in the private, so let's see if I can just copy this over to the general comments. Let's see. Yes, there we have it. So
that's something which we came up with, and again, the goal was how we can keep on updating it and focusing on the Sniper approach. That if you think about it, you basically go in and there's one problem you want to solve, one obstacle you want to overcome, and that's where we start with the 6-step process. And the goal again is we listed out with respect to what Daniel was talking about: fixed price, fixed bid, we're sharing the risk, and we don't give the duration of the time before doing the first step, which is the assessment phase. So during the synthesis, for example, our client on the product management side, doing that assessment, it involved us working with them for a couple of hours, giving them a feedback on who will we interview, what product launches we will see, what historic data artifacts we're going to observe and navigate through, and eventually what do you get it out of at the end. So that's pretty much what the entire micro consulting engagement looks like.
Okay, so we had another follow-up comment from Daniel. Fixed bids is a fantastic way to share risks. Awesome. Yeah, that's clearly a good insight. Daniel asked me, what are your bibliographic sources for inspired leadership? We know your sources for Unity of Purpose and Community of Trust. Well, yeah, that's right. The Unity of Purpose, Community of Trust came from the Patterns movement. Inspired leadership is something that I think I just developed over time. But in terms of bibliographic resources, now we always have online the TameFlow bibliography. So all the things that you find in my books and in the blogs, all the references are collected here. And there are many books there which are also about leadership and creating alignment and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't be able to point to a specific source of that notion of inspired leadership. But anyway, that's one of the founding patterns of TameFlow. So let's see more comments. This one is for you from Manway, sending positive vibes from Dubai. So we have guests from Dubai. Well, thank you for joining. Daniel is saying something more. The dark horse of fixed bids contracts is change request. How do you deal with that? Interesting question. question?
So it's a fantastic question. And I think one of the key things, Daniel, is something which we heavily focus on at Agile Brains is we really don't go on towards too much of the transactional selling business. I think we are more in the value delivery business. So as far as the change request comes in, I'll give you the best example, which is happening even with our current client. Our initial proposal and discussion was based on interviewing 18 people from the different product management group and different divisions. And having talked to the president as well as the chief revenue officer, what we came across was, hey, can we go in and have your team talk to 22 people instead of 82? Now, still a little bit higher, probably will spend a few more hours working with them. But at the end of the day, an hour here, there, or a couple of hours here and there is not going to make or break anything. I think if our focus is our customer value, we take it within the group of how work is going to be done. But that being said, if the numbers became from 18 to let's have you interview 72 people, that's when I think we look at scope in terms of it's fixed price, it's a fixed bid. We want to minimize the change requests. So yes, there is some avenue for listing out the change requests, but at the same time, we are cognizant and we're transparent with our clients as well, because we believe not in transactional selling, but value delivery. And I think this is something which we are constantly seeing in the industry, that organizations and clients and vendors are more focused on transactional selling. Hey, you're asking me to train somebody on Kanban and that's it. But in this case, if you have a Kanban class with 20 students and you have one extra person come in, at the end of the day, I think as an organization, embrace that in their stride and say, this is part of the change request and founded on value. And Daniel says very smart answers. Thank you, Daniel, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, right. So we have that very smart answers, not transaction based, but founded on value. I like that. It means that trust has to be present. Obviously, trust is always fundamental, and I think these modes of engagement help in building trust between client and provider. Daniel is commenting a lot, but as you know, Daniel is the co-author of the flagship book, Tame Your Workflow. And I just want to remind folks here that they can get it at a discount at TameFlow.com, and then get your workflow book all separated with dashes. And speaking of this book, right now we should also mention that we have Tom Cagley, who was a guest here a few weeks ago. He is the host of the Spamcast. He doesn't like that we call it Spamcast, but that's how you write it. It's the Software Process and Measurement podcast. He started rereading Tame Your Workflow, and it's an ongoing series. So every Saturday he's publishing a commentary about one chapter, and you can get to the first one through that link, TameFlowZone/re-read. And again, about Daniel. Daniel is designing the training material for the courses, the official certified courses, and you can get to the course offering and the trainers on this page, tameflow.com/tameflow-training. The calendar is updated all the time, and we are adding new trainers as we are certifying more and more trainers. And I should also add that soon we will also have a number of premier partners joining the TameFlow network. Let's see, any other comments? Just Daniel continuing, more trust means more business in the future. Obviously, yes, that's indeed one of the key phrases of Goldratt, and the definition of the goal is to make more money now and in the future. And many people get upset on making more money and say it's too too materialistic. But if you just reflect on that, in the future, there is a lot that is added in terms of viability and sustainability and respect for the planet, for the people, for the purpose, and so on. So having a future perspective is always important, and of course that ties back directly to what we said with purpose. That's what driving you towards the future. Okay, I think we're almost ready to wrap up. Are you having some reflections or comments you want to share on this experience of being on the Campfire Talks?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's been a great opportunity for me, Steve. And I know we've talked to each other for a few times, so it was really good. I think the process as well, and getting a good chance to just talk, who are going to go ahead and talk a little bit about it. I think that's super useful. And I think it's what a great experience. And I recommend people to read more about TameFlow as well. And I think the philosophical aspect, a lot of organizations look at it and say this is this is pretty much like the unicorn syndrome, inspirational leadership and goal and buzzwords. But the reality of the matter is, as a founder of a company, as somebody who employs people and uses contractors, consultants across the globe, pretty much, it's super important that you stand by what you believe in. I think these values and principles, what separates us, and as Daniel pointed out, the more trust we can have, and not only in our clients and external customers, but internal customers as well, means a better way of living in lives as well.
In fact, we just received another question here, which is very close to what you were explaining. It's Oana Mihalache. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Hi from Romania. Abrar, could you share a couple of pointers for new entrepreneurs interested in starting a journey similar to yours? Wonderful question.
I think it's a fantastic question, Juana, and hi from Philadelphia. So a couple of pointers I think are going to be, one is establishing that value in your mindset, your key principles, like what do you stand behind? I think if you keep doing the right thing, having that standard set of moral compass and the conscious compass, that's going to help you out to take decisions. As an entrepreneur, there's going to be decisions that you're taking day in, day out. Pretty much with Steve, it's interesting. Steve and I were talking this morning, and I was sending him last minute updates to my answers and podcasts. It's natural. So if you have your good mindset of like a clean heart and clean mind, that's definitely going to give people a good chance to embark on this journey. I think the second thing which I want to mention out is don't be afraid of asking for help. I think we all, Steve, you included, Daniel, Jitesh, and Wana, Manu, and everybody else who has been on this call, Anna, Michael. I think every one of us can look back and thank some of the people who have inspired us, who have, whether it's via a book, via an article. So not being scared to ask for help is important. Even today, having had a company, a multi-million-dollar company which does business with the Fortune 500 and small startups, even today, I'm learning something new. I've never used StreamYard before, for example. So, but it's good to ask for help. It's good to see surrounding yourself with the right kind of people. And I'm blessed and very lucky to have a very loving, caring family, a fiance, everybody who is there to help me out and support it. So keep your support network strong. People, and make this world be a better place to live in as an entrepreneur. So it's not about making dollars. It's not about getting more business. All these things will find a way for it to work. Super important to surround yourself, do the right thing, keep that moral compass, and keep loving your loved ones. I think that's super important.
Well, wonderful advice there, Abrar. And you also mentioned that every day is a learning opportunity. And in fact, today, you made me learn something new, because in those last minute updates to your interview, you had the brilliant idea to use an emoji, a smiley, a graphical one. And I'm setting up the blog about this, which is written in Markdown. And I had no idea of how to represent a smiley in Markdown. So that is my achievement. What I learned today is how to put a smiling in Markdown. So that is a reason to read the blog afterwards to see if I managed to do that correctly or not. We have Daniel coming back with another question, and maybe you don't know, but I tell you, Daniel is a certified public accountant, and of course he asks, Abrar, are you familiar with throughput accounting?
It's one of the hardest concepts, Daniel, which we want organizations to start embracing. And this is one of the things people keep talking about. Well, our IT teams are doing Agile and have improved their scaling processes, but really getting finance on board. And if your job is to scale Agile using any framework, and you are really getting away from funding projects to funding products, that's where throughput accounting comes in. And without throughput accounting, your goal of reaching enterprise agility will always remain a wish. So it's a fantastic point, Daniel.
And we have Oana replying to your answer. Love this answer. Thank you. Yes, I think that was one of the absolute best answers we've had on the whole Campfire Talks series. Okay, let's see. Any other comments? No, not that I can see right now. So, Abrar, no, I'm really glad you came on here as a guest. It was one of the most interesting interviews I've had. Really wonderful answers, and I hope to see you again in the future. Let's see. Oh, we got one comment here, Anna. Very uplifting points from Abrar about family support values. I could not agree more. Yes, you're scoring points with those answers, Abrar. Very good.
Pleasure, Anna. Thank you.
So I hope to have you back as a guest in the future, and I hope you also enjoyed my soapbox performance when I start talking about TameFlow.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Steve. And thank you so much, all the audience, for asking your questions and listening to me. It was my pleasure. And feel free to find me on LinkedIn or reach out to the community on TameFlow. It's been a great experience. And I wish Steve and Daniel and the rest of all of you all the success in this world. Thank you.
Yes, let's just remind that you are Abrar Hashmi from Agile Brains Consulting, and you can reach the website www.agilebrainsconsulting.net. Abrar, thank you very much. And to the audience, we'll see you soon here around a campfire with Herbie. Goodbye.